There are promises you make in the quiet of a hospital room that you know, even as the words leave your mouth, will cost you everything to keep. I made one of those promises, and what happened after changed not just what I did, but who I became. It was a Tuesday in late autumn when I sat beside my father's bed, watching monitors blink and listening to the hiss of oxygen. And I told him I would finish the book he never got to write. He had spent 30 years collecting stories, interviews, journals, handwritten notes, stuffed into folders, all pointing toward one manuscript about his own father's immigration from a country that no longer exists under the same name, and he had never found the time, the way most of us never find the time for the things that matter most. I reached over, took his hand, which felt lighter than I remembered, and said, "I'll finish it, Dad." Now, here's where I could dress this up as a purely noble moment, but let me be transparent. Part of me said it because I didn't know what else to say, the way we sometimes make promises at the edge of loss because silence feels like surrender. He passed 11 days later, and I was left holding a promise I had no idea how to keep because I am not a historian, I had never written a book, and grief, as it turns out, is a terrible creative partner. The first step I took was simply opening the folders, just that, nothing more, and I told myself that was enough for day one, which sounds almost embarrassingly small until you understand that grief makes even the ordinary feel like moving through concrete. Some days I translated a single paragraph of his notes. Other days I sat with a cup of coffee going cold, reading the same page 4 times, and that was the whole session. Months passed this way. I want to give you a clean montage of productivity. But the truth is that keeping a promise made at a hospital bedside is less like climbing a mountain and more like walking in fog. You just keep moving and trust the ground is still there. I brought in a co-writer, a family historian, and my aunt, who remembered stories my father's notes only hinted at because I learned fast that honoring someone doesn't mean doing it alone, it means doing it right. We spent 14 months crossing and recrossing the same chapters, arguing about what to include, laughing at stories we'd never heard, and crying at ones we wished we hadn't. Here's the part nobody tells you about grief and promise keeping. The work becomes the healing. The book gave my loss a container, a reason to keep excavating instead of sealing off. And that excavation, painful as it was, kept my father present in a way that pure mourning never could have managed. When the manuscript was finally finished, 187 pages, dedicated to a man I miss every day, something shifted in me that I still struggle to fully articulate, except to say that I felt, for the first time since that hospital room, like I had kept faith with something larger than grief. Not healed, exactly, but located times like I knew where I stood in the story now. There's an irony here worth naming. The promise I made, partly out of helplessness, turned out to be the most powerful thing I ever did on purpose. I didn't save him, couldn't, but I gave his unfinished life a finished shape, and somehow that gave my own pain a shape too. If you're sitting with a promise like this one, made in a hard room, under impossible circumstances, let me offer you this. Don't wait for grief to lift before you begin. Because grief doesn't lift, it just gradually learns to share the space with other things. And beginning is how you teach it to share. Start small, stay steady, and let the work carry you when the motivation disappears. Because it will disappear, and the discipline of return is everything. Discipline is always the answer, even in heartbreak, even in love, especially in love. Not passion, not timing, not inspiration, just the quiet, daily practice of showing up to what you promised until one day you look up and realize you actually did it. If this moves something in you, subscribe and check out all our other topics.